This is part B of the Khoodeelaar television channel. Please subscribe to our channel and So this is an example, the last few minutes of the interruptions that we keep getting in this effort to broadcast online. So the IT issues remain persistent. Going back to the Sunday Times piece in support of Harvey Weinstein, it's on page 21 of the Sunday Times, London, 28th of April 2024. And it's published as a comment. And the byline is given to Camilla Long. And the headline, which she may not have written herself necessarily, is After the soap opera of Me Too, the unhappiest ending would be for Weinstein to walk free. Now, Camilla Long is not unknown as a character in sexual perversions, especially when she offered Gary Lineker a sexual experience with her instead of allowing him to penetrate her on her breasts. So she isn't somebody does refer to Weinstein. It condemns the Me Too movement, and I shall be reading this. It says 107 women said Weinstein had harassed them, assaulted them, or raped them. So why was he only convicted of 3 and now just 1? It's not simply a failure of the justice system. It's because right from the start, ordinary people saw the Me Too movement for what it was: Tinseltown rubbish, a marketing exercise for comedian female justice system, so-called, that he calls it, is actually a derivation of the English judiciary. And access to legal remedies for victims of wrongdoing, victims of crime and criminality, is extremely limited, both in the USA and in the UK. Clearly, Camilla Long doesn't have experience on the ground of just how corrupt, bankrupt, immoral, and unjust the English or the British legal system is. And she most certainly doesn't have any experience about the USA at all. What she is doing is doing a jobbing piece, a topical piece about Weinstein. And the fact that 107 women gave evidence or claimed, and only 3 were kind of vindicated in the conviction. And now only 2 after the reversal of the 2 convictions or conviction. It is absolutely too early to make any comment condemning the Me Too movement. It is absolutely true that the women who founded the or organized or mobilized the Me Too movement did that as an emergency. It wasn't something that they were planning on doing for years. Because if they had been doing the planning, they kept it to themselves. And it is grotesquely unfair and untrue that the Me Too movement was mainly a platform, a marketing exercise for women to get on the news of the day. That actually undermines the severity and the gravity of rape, sexual assault, and everything that goes with sexual assault and rape. And it is not a surprise because if Camilla Long had any understanding about dignity, about consent, about freedom, then she would not have been in the news herself, offering her breast for Gary Lineker to wank on. What a grotesque example. And then that is not the only one. She has records of doing other similar things, capitalizing on her breasts and her body, and talking obscenely about her gender and her sexuality and all the other things. She has no record of commending genuine campaigning women anywhere. She's a racist, and her racism is irresistible to her. Any excuse, and she will have a go at Meghan Markle. Any excuse, and she will have a go at Harry Windsor because he is married to Meghan Markle. And despite the fact that she is mixed race, Meghan Markle is entitled to claim racial discrimination against her in the media. Now, the use of the phrase justice system is also based on ignorance on Camilla Long's part. I mean, as the details of the 2 trials, one on the death of Michael Jackson, and the other on the allegations of murders against O.J. Simpson, both of which were very, very extensively televised, it was quite clear that the legal system in the USA is a product of the ownership, access to the legal system of the USA, is a product, a function of those with money. Imagine Donald Trump not being able to defraud all kinds of people and together raise funds. 31, at least 31 counts of allegations against him. He would have been a goner a long time ago. And all these people in the USA that are in the actual news about the legal actions are people with money, whether the money they stole, whether money they robbed others of. Ordinary people that Camilla Long refers to as a phrase. What kind of ordinary people is she talking about? She never talks about, writes about, represents the views of, the experience of, or solidarizes with the ordinary people in the UK. Who is she kidding? The content and the quality of her pieces are typically very low grade, as low grade as the rest of the Murdoch paid columnists and writers and etc. are. This is something that is reminiscent of the way that Jimmy Savile was allowed by the media to get away with multiple cases of rape. Now, what would she be saying about Jimmy Savile? Going by the piece that she has written about Harvey Weinstein, Camilla Long would be supporting Jimmy Savile and condemning the women that he raped, that he assaulted, that he abused. Camilla Long, before she joined Rupert Murdoch was already called the dirty digger by the private eye. And Camilla Long's uncouth, creepy, corrupt, and anti-women piece today shows that she has made dirty digger even dirtier. There is no justice in the judicial bureaucracy in the United Kingdom. I have been engaged at all levels against the corrupt judiciary for 60 years, both before I arrived in London and the actions that I took against the British judiciary before I arrived in the United Kingdom were on behalf of other people, and all the actions that I took successfully vindicated my strategy and my understanding and my knowledge. And I have been an academic in terms of studying all aspects of the law and the jurisprudence, etc., etc. And I have done field work as well. I don't think that Camilla Long has the slightest idea about the legal bureaucracy. And the same thing goes with the other one, Melanie McDonough, who wrote on Friday in the Evening No Standard that Harvey Weinstein was entitled to due process. What the fuck does she know about due process? There is no due process in the United Kingdom, in the judiciary. It's corrupt. Going back to the Baby Angel Geronimo editions, Manifesto, when the two judges, Griffiths and Murray, in the High Court, stated identical words and phrases retailing the lies of depraved Defra against the baby angel Geronimo, it became quite clear that they were doing so intentionally and that they were acting as criminals as defined in criminal law. I don't think that Camilla Long or Melanie McDonough has ever heard of the way that the judges in the High Court behave, or the magistrates or the so-called district judges in the criminal courts that used to be called the magistrates' court behave. When the popular Limehouse Labour Party Member of Parliament, Afsana Begum, was actually tried for house fraud on housing, the way that the chairing judge or presiding judge expressed his personal views in support of Afsana Begum shows the corruption at work. And the corruption I am referring to here is Keir Starmer, who was the DPP. As DPP, he might or might not have personally known the judges, but Starmer knew that he couldn't afford a by-election following the conviction of a Labour Party member in Tower Hamlets. So he must have pulled all kinds of strings, the result of which, pulling of the strings, must have ended with the dubious decision that Afsana Begum wasn't guilty of the fraud that she was charged with. And the propaganda line, the publicity line that was adopted must have been scripted by Keir Starmer himself. For Tower Hamlets, which was supposed to be the prosecuting authority, being a Labour-controlled authority at the time, the Labour-controlled Tower Hamlets Council was itself embarrassed that it had to prosecute Afsana Begum. And even Private Lie was complicit with the lying line that gave the lie, and the lying benefit of the lies to Afsana Begum. The reality of the housing fraud in Tower Hamlets, the reality of the corruption by Tower Hamlets Council and councillors is stark. It is stark even now, 2 years after the prosecution and acquittal, so-called, of Afsana Begum. 5 councillors, sitting councillors in Tower Hamlets Council, are now on the record as having demanded bribe from Santosh Nair, a planning applicant, licensing applicant, that is. And there are other allegations against Lutfur Rahman himself, the so-called mayor. These are raging allegations, these are reigning allegations, and these will continue. We shall be talking about these issues, of course, but this is just a topical update. We shall be continuing in later editions in due course. There is no reference, as I've said before, either by Melanie McDonough or Camilla Long to Shamima Begum and the disgusting criminality of Tower Hamlets Council, whether it's controlled by Labour Party or controlled by the group supposedly operating with Lutfur Rahman at its front. They have been neglecting the safeguarding the children duties of these children, Shamima Begum and the other three girls, for 14 years now. When they have not done anything. They have not done anything to even follow up the reports in the so-called mainstream media that British and Canadian spies were involved in brainwashing these girls. That the East London Mosque was the base for the brainwashing of one of the ones, Sharmina Begum. Amazing, isn't it? What judicial system is Camilla Long talking about? And despite the fact that the Guardian has known about these, the Guardian has failed or chosen not to publish any reference, substantial reference that is, to Tower Hamlets Council failing or choosing to fail or choosing to neglect the safeguarding children duties it owed and still owes to those four girls. We shall be continuing in due course. This is now ending at 28 minutes. With the technical fault, it would be about like substantially 24 minutes. And the time is now 21:05 GMT on Sunday, the 28th of April 2024.